a crippled upwing or mayfly. This is tied on a size 14s. I'm just about to tie in not a tail but a shuck, and this particular material is known as Zelon. Simply tie it in on the top of the hook to the start of the bend, a couple of quick loops underneath to support it, and that's it. Advance the thread back to the front, and the next job is to tie in the wing. The wing will be made of polypropylene floating yarn, and the technique here is to tie it in on the top of the shank to start with, using a figure of 8 technique, as if you were tying a spinner pattern or a spinner wing. I'm using spiderweb, incidentally, just out of personal preference. There's no hard and fast rule here, whatever you feel comfortable with. Having done that, we now want to just try to force the wing upright. So I'm going to just loop a few turns of thread at the base of the wing. I don't want it to be totally vertical. I want it to be the finished fly to have a slightly split wing at the front. Basically, that's all there is to it. We'll come back to that in a moment. Now take the thread back to the bend, and we'll dub in the body. I'm actually going to use a dub-in loop here, but it's not absolutely necessary. The reason I'm doing it is that I'm going to use some Zelon dubbing, and it's quite coarse, and I want a nice, neat, tight profile, so the dub-in loop will help me get that. So I'm just going to put a small amount, and the colour I've selected is grey. It's no coincidence that another good dry fly pattern that's very commonly used in New Zealand is an Adams in conventional and parachute style, and of course we tie the Adams with a grey body, usually muskrat. I'll just flip this round for a moment and spin the bobbin just to get a nice tight dub-in loop. Not too much with spiderweb, otherwise it tends to break. Okay. Simply advance the thread back to behind the wing and leave it there. Now I'll just wind on the Zelon dubbing loop that I've created, and as you can see, it does give you a much tighter body, but the nice long fibres with this dubbing will stick out and add to the effectiveness, no doubt, of the fly. Okay, I'm going to tie that off at this point, so just a couple of loops round, that's all it will take. One more for good luck perhaps. And just take that dubbing loop out for the time being. I'm now going to tie in the hackle. You can use grizzle, which I'm using here, or light dun, dark dun, medium dun. I think the original was done with a medium dun, but I kind of like a grizzle. So I'm just going to tie that in firmly, okay, behind and in front, just for added security. Tie that stalk down, okay, and just take off the surplus. Alright, I'm now going to just put a little bit more dubbing on and take it forward of the wing. Okay, no need to go to the trouble of the loop here, because we want this probably a little bit bushier anyway in the thorax. I'm just going to pop that in. Okay, try another piece. This stuff's not the easiest material in the world to dub loose. It's one of the other reasons I use a loop. Okay, just put that nicely at the front, down to the eye, and come back. Okay, we can part the thread on the eye. Now all I'll do is just wind conventionally about 3 turns behind the wing with the hackle, like so, and a couple of turns in front will do nicely, and then just tie it off. This pattern's not particularly difficult to tie, which is a definite advantage, but it is a devastatingly effective pattern. There's a few little adjustments to be made in a moment. I'll just whip finish. Because this spider web is white, if you want a dark head, just run some marker pen, in this case black, down and tie it off. Just a little whip finish on the end. Could put a spot of varnish on as well, or glue, just to make it indestructible. Just trim off any unnecessary bits of hackle. Okay, now we've got the basic fly tied. I'll just run over some basic points. You've got the Zealon shuck, not tail tied in. This should be cut to about the length of the hook shank, so it's quite long. Don't be tempted to cut it too short. It's about right. The wing really should just, remember this is not a fully formed wing, this is a cripple fly, so the wing we want quite short, just at the top of the hackles. It will automatically flare out to the side, which is exactly what we want. Okay. One final adjustment. Turn the fly over and just cut a V in the hackle underneath. And of course the reason for this is to make the fly sit flush in the surface film. It is a cripple pattern. It will not ride high, and we don't want it to ride high. We want it flush in the film. Okay, now that basically is the pattern. So if I just give it a little turn round, you begin to see what the finished fly looks like. That fished properly caught us lots of fish.